Hey everybody, Scott Spreitzer here from DocSports.com. It is Saturday, August 25th, 2018. We got a free pick coming up in NFL preseason play for Saturday in just a little bit. This is our SEC College Football Conference preview, of course, from a Vegas perspective, and we'll get to all of that in just a second as we wrap up our conference previews for the upcoming season, which of course kicks off today. If you've yet to become a member over at DocSports.com, check it out. Give it a try. $60 free account. All you got to do is click on the link below the video. Set yourself up for that free $60 account. And I hope you did so on August 1st because the last 24 days we've just been outstanding in Major League Baseball. We won again last night. Big 7-star winner on the St. Louis Cardinals. We're now on a 7-1 run with our 7-star plays. Those are our top plays. And also hitting 75% in the month of August with Major League Baseball now, exactly 75%. And we're up over $5,200 in the month of August in baseball alone. And now we get to kick off our favorite sport of them all, which of course is college football. When it comes to betting, we love college football. 101 and 67, 60% run with the college football plays we've posted online over the past couple of years. And it all kicks off today. Got a couple of games going today. One of them is a premium play over at DocSports.com. It's available right now. I've also got an NFL preseason play going on Saturday. It's available right now as we speak in the same football package. And my Major League Baseball top play, as I mentioned on the Red Hot Run on the Bases, will be available on Saturday after 11:30 a.m. Eastern, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. So we got a big day in store on Saturday, at least 3 plays. College football, NFL, Major League Baseball, the 2 football plays available right now as I speak. And you can go to the website and check it out. Of course, again, baseball a little bit later will be posted at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Again, wanted to mention we do have those discounted packages over at DocSports.com for football, both college football and the NFL regular season. NFL, by the way, 58% our last 300-plus plays, so be sure to check that out also, the early discounted packages. And we did get signed up. We're all signed up for the Westgate Super Contest. Myself, my teammate, we had a nice 16th place finish a couple of years ago, turned a $1,500 entry into about $25,000, and now there's about 3,500 people that are expected over the Westgate Super Contest. So 16th, well, that would finish with an even bigger chunk of change for our pockets if we get there. And, of course, we're hoping to win it all, and a top 10 would be very, very nice. All signed up, and we'll be talking about that all season long as we cut these videos and let you know how we're doing at the Westgate, all that good stuff. All right, again, free play coming up for Saturday in preseason football in a second. Let's get to the SEC conference preview. We got a whole lot to talk about, and we're not going to dissect every team. We never do that in any conference, and especially in a conference with this many teams, because obviously, I mean, SEC, my gosh, we could probably talk 5 or 6 hours, and I'm not exaggerating when it comes to this report. So let's talk about what we like from a betting perspective. And it might run a little bit long, but you can always check out that free play at the end of the video in NFL preseason action. Let's start first with, well, let's just name it like it is, 5 to 8. Do you want to lay those kind of odds to win the SEC? Well, that's what you got to do if you like Alabama in that 5 to 8 range or thereabouts. What I happen to like is Alabama at plus 200. You can find them at plus 200. I've seen plus $1.75 out there also, but plus 200 to win the national title, better than 5 to 8 to win the conference. Georgia's plus 800 to win the national title. A lot of folks that think that they're going to be, under Kirby Smart, back in contention and back in the 4-team playoffs at the end of the season. We'll talk about the Bulldogs in just a bit. As far as the Tide's concerned, only 3 defensive starters back, yet they're the favorite to win it all again. It just doesn't matter. I mean, you could argue that, Alabama shouldn't have been in last year's playoffs, but the bottom line is if Wisconsin, takes care of business against Ohio State, Bama's probably not there. They didn't, though. Bama always seems to take care of business when it matters, and they made it to not only the Final Four, but obviously won with Tua coming in at quarterback and playing quite well for the Crimson Tide. This Alabama version better than last year's as far as I'm concerned, even though they have all those new starters on defense. They're all blue chippers, of course. 2 new coordinators, 1 on offense, 1 on defense, and they're both new. Quarterback battle, defensive line, secondary, I'm telling you, they need young players to step up and make a difference. But is there any doubt that they will? I don't doubt it. Under Nick Saban, best coach in college football. Listen, I don't care if you like him or not. He gets his team to the Final Four just about every year now that they've had the Final Four playoff system. But I'll tell you, I suspect Tua will be the quarterback as far as the starter is concerned when the season kicks off. I know they've had this battle between Tua and Hurts, but Hurts kind of gave it away a couple of weeks ago, saying that he wasn't real happy with the way things were going on in the quarterback battle from the coaches. And I think Tua is going to be the guy, at least to start things out at the start of the season. The receiving core is outstanding, 4 deep at running back. One goes down in the running game, and yet another one will come up and take over, just steps right up and takes over. Some fall camp injuries, on the offensive line for the Alabama Crimson Tide. But again, we're talking about blue chip depth, just next guy in line who steps up to make a difference. So I don't think there's any issues up front. Only real concern, if you will, for me with this Alabama football team is the secondary on defense. And, maybe a quarterback gets hot here and there, and they're able to maybe make a couple of plays against the Bama secondary that can make things close. And maybe Bama loses a game or two along the way because of it. But the schedule's easy. Big chalk over Louisville to kick things off. It's a little steep for me. I'm not going to play Bama in that one. But they should finish 4-0 non-conference. They are at LSU. They are home Mississippi State. They are home Auburn. Those are their 3 toughest spots over the course of the season. I think they go 11-1 this year, folks. 11-1. They get back to the conference title game. And, of course, they lost last year to Auburn in the Iron Bowl and didn't make the conference championship. But I think they get back this year, and then at plus 200 to win the national title is what I would do with the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now, Georgia and Auburn, they're the only SEC teams that, as far as I'm concerned, and according to my power rankings, would be 9 points or less. Both of those teams, 9 points or less. Auburn, 9. Georgia, less than that. A little bit better football team than Auburn. Not quite at Alabama's strength as far as my power ratings are concerned. But they're the only teams that I would have as single-digit dogs on a neutral field to Alabama, according to my power ratings. And Bama won't have to see one of those teams, which is the Georgia Bulldogs in the regular season. So let's go between the hedges. Before we get to Auburn, we'll talk about Georgia. And the Dogs, they've got a lot to replace on defense, yet I think they could end up better than last year's team that came within a Tua, if you will, of winning the national title. Jake Fromm, you'll remember, start of his freshman season. He takes over for an injured quarterback. Blessing in disguise. Listen, I did a podcast last year at the start of the season before Jake Fromm played his first regular season game with Georgia. And we were talking about it would be a blessing in disguise because he can win games with his legs, more mobile than the guy he replaced with the Georgia Bulldogs. And we saw what Jake Fromm could do, future NFLer in my book. So he can win plays with his legs. Might not even be the best quarterback on Kirby Smart's team this year, which tells you just how loaded this team is at certain positions. And yes, they lose a bit from the running back position, and I guess I should say more than a bit with 2 of the running backs that they lose. But again, like Alabama in a lot of positions, in this particular spot, running back, Georgia is full of blue chip depth. In fact, all over the place, including running back. The offensive line for Georgia might be stronger than last year's despite some player losses since since the 2017 season came to a close. On defense, of course, you don't replace Roquan Smith. You don't replace a Lorenzo Carter. They're gone. They're serious leaders. You don't get that kind of leadership taking over like you had with Roquan Smith. Those, though, that are stepping up are talented. Yeah, they might be young. They might not be ready to be leaders like Roquan Smith was, but they are significantly more talented than just about every team in college football outside of maybe Alabama when it comes to being able to step up and not miss a lot talent-wise. The secondary should be absolutely terrific. And we will learn a lot about Georgia and some of the newbies and new faces on this team on September 8th when they face South Carolina. They'll be 1-0 going into that one. I've actually got them going 7-1 in conference play, talking about the Georgia Bulldogs. Lose at South Carolina or to Auburn. Those are the 2 games where I think they're going to have a rough time. And in one of those games, I think they'll come away with the loss. So Georgia, I've got them going 7-1. Speaking of 7-1, well, 7-2-1 is what the Auburn Tigers are for the most part to win the SEC. Their over-under wins total, though, is 9.5. I don't think they're going to get there, folks. In fact, I got them losing in Week 1 to Washington, non-conference action, neutral field. This team, Auburn, loses 4 starters up front on the offensive line. It's going to be tough, I think, to overcome early. The receivers, they're good, but not as good as they could have been thanks to a couple of injuries they've suffered along the way. Everyone touting quarterback Jarrett Stidham, I get it. He's back. Now he's got another year under his belt with the Auburn Tigers after the transfer for coming over from Waco and the Baylor Bears. but no Kerryon Johnson in the backfield. The running game will have to hope for a solid blocking up front, again, from an offensive line that is 80% new. The defensive line should be good. The linebackers should be great. The secondary for Auburn, a little bit shaky early on. I think they're going to lose to Washington out of the blocks, out of the non-conference portion of the schedule. I believe they'll go 5-3 in conference play. Remember, they got road games at Georgia, and then, of course, they've got the Alabama game in the Iron Bowl. They've also got Mississippi State. Over-under, again, 9.5 on the Auburn Tigers. And, folks, I got to tell you, I think this team is going to probably win 8 games this year. I've got Auburn going 8-4 and finishing 5-3 in conference play. Listen, Mississippi State is a team that could overtake the Tigers on the run for the conference title and maybe take over their spot, so to speak, as the 3rd best team in the conference. I have Mississippi State power rated quite close to Auburn as it is. Mississippi State fans, by the way, I know you lost Dan Mullen to the Florida Gators, but you landed a real good one in Joe Moorhead. Like what he did as an assistant at Penn State, like what he did as a head coach at Florida before that. He inherits an extremely talented football team. The offensive line brings back all but one starter, solid at quarterback. I like the receiving core, and they will throw the ball downfield. Mark my words, Miss State fans, they'll throw the ball downfield under Joe Moorhead. But most of all, what I like about this Bulldogs team is that defense and what they bring with that stop unit. This team finished 10th in college football in yards allowed last year. They're going to be even better as far as I'm concerned in 2018. I do believe Miss State will go 4-0 in non-conference play, although at Kansas State early on could be a little shaky. They get Florida, Auburn, in back-to-back weeks. They're both at home, but they're in back-to-back weeks. That's tough. At LSU, at Bama, there's a couple of the road games. Probably 5-3 in conference play for Mississippi State. 9-3 overall, but this is a team that has a shot, I think, at 6-2 in conference play if everything goes well on the opposite side of the football. I think the defense will keep them in just about every game. So again, Mississippi State, probably 5-3 by the time it's done in the SEC, but again, an outside shot at 6-2. Just don't make mistakes on offense because that defense is going to be spectacular. Florida, LSU, Missouri, A&M, all rated within about 3 points of each other according to my power ratings, and the best of the bunch. And a team with a chance at a breakout from those 4 teams I just mentioned, likely the Florida Gators. 19 starters scheduled back for Florida, but I do have them going 9-3 overall. I think Florida will be 6-2 in conference play. Got them pegged for a loss at the end of the season outside of the conference at Florida State. Now you got Missouri, one of those 4 teams I just mentioned. I think they're going to go 4-4 in conference play, but be much improved over what they have been the last couple of years. LSU, they've got to replace a ton. 6 from both offense and defense, and a very tough slate. For as relatively easy as Alabama's schedule is, LSU's, man, they pick up the slack. They're that tough. Conference road games at Auburn, Florida, Arkansas, A&M. They could lose all 4 of those games. They do have big home games midseason against Georgia, Mississippi State, and Alabama. Yeah, they get them at home, but it's Georgia, Mississippi State, and Alabama. I think LSU goes 3-5 in SEC play. I got them 3-1 in non-conference action. That's a 6-win season. The folks in Baton Rouge are not going to be real happy, I think, by the end of the season and probably long before that. Finally, the 4th team of that bunch that I mentioned is A&M. But holding A&M back, despite 16 returning starters, are going to be road games at Alabama, South Carolina, Mississippi State, and Auburn. I think because of that schedule, A&M's likely to go 4-4 in SEC play. And South Carolina is going to be a beast this year. They've got a real good shot. I like them over the total, by the way. And I think the South Carolina Gamecocks are going to be a player week in, week out of the SEC, pull an upset or 2 along the way. And again, we'll find out more about them when they take on Georgia on September 8th. Again, the SEC wagers that I like. 3 SEC wagers. Bama plus 200 to win the national championship. Auburn under 9.5 wins. And my dark horse, it was a tough call between South Carolina and Mississippi State, but we're going to say 12-1 odds are dark horse on Mississippi State in the SEC. Do I think they've got a legitimate true shot to win the conference championship? Probably not. That's why we call them a dark horse at 12-1. It's Alabama's conference to lose. So I think Alabama comes out on top, a dark horse on Miss State at 12-1. And again, Bama plus 200 national title, Auburn under 9.5 wins. That's our SEC preview. Free play in just a second. Wanted to mention what's going on Saturday. We've got our baseball play, top play that we're going to post at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time on Saturday. We've got college football available right now, one play on Saturday. We've got one play from the NFL preseason available right now for Saturday. As far as the baseball, again, as I mentioned, we won the 7-star last night with the Cardinals. We're now 7-1 with our last 8 top of the shelf, top of the ticket, 7-star baseball plays. Free play for Saturday. We're going to turn to the NFL preseason. We'll make it quick here as this video is running long. We're going to back the New Orleans Saints. They're getting 2.5 over the Chargers. We'll back the Saints plus 2.5 will be our official number we'll use here for grading the Saints your free play on Saturday slate. When I come back Sunday morning, 4 a.m. Eastern, 4 a.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. Pacific, on Sunday, we will have our normal report, and that means extended analysis with our free play for Sunday's card. If you like what you see, click on that thumbs up button. Be sure to subscribe. We appreciate those who have done so thus far. Again, back early Saturday morning. Back early Sunday morning. My gosh. Let's put Saturday in the win column. I'm Scott Spreitzer, DocSports.com.